Can you imagine a life not working? I mean, not having to go to work. If you are retired already, you live that life. But for most people who are not yet retired, for us fairly young people, I'm not so young. Retirement seems like so far away in the future. Traditionally, when you're 65, or is it 62? I forget what the number is, what the age, when you stop working, and it's always thought of to be something to do with old age, retiring, has a sort of negative feeling. But there's a movement called the FIRE movement, FIRE, FIRE, and it stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And there's a very active small group of people who had a crazy idea that they don't really enjoy the work they're doing. How could they not have to work and retire early and live off their savings and investments and then do something more useful with their life, like charity work or working in their city, traveling, doing all the things that you'd want to do when you're retired, traditionally when you're older. How can this be possible? It's impossible, right? Not if you are a true believer and follow some good advice. I found out about this from various places, but I found out about it a bit too late, really, for me. But um, there's a guy called Mr. Money Mustache. Mr. Money Mustache. That's his blog, and he became quite well known because he retired when he was 31. He got a pretty good degree. I think he was an engineer. And he got a quite good, I think, computer engineering job when he was 22, when he finished college. And he worked through until he was 31. I think it was about nine or 10 years, and then retired. And he's never worked again. He has worked since then, but on projects that he enjoys. He never has to take a job that he doesn't want to do. And how did he do it? Well, you can go to his blog and find out. But I've summarized it in the book. Um, and these are the main points. He's got 5 main points. I'll just read them out to you. Number one, the secret to financial freedom is simple but not easy. Save more than you spend, and then save much more. Right. So the more that you save and don't spend very much, the sooner you can retire. Yeah, of course, everybody knows that, right? The second point, the more money you save, the more you get used to not spending so much to be happy. So it's a philosophy that you don't need to buy new cars, you don't need to buy the newest smartphone. Instead, focus on the important things that you need and only spend money on that. And then you get more comfortable not having the newest things, wearing old shirts and using secondhand furniture and things. Um, Therefore, you keep the less that you spend, the more you get used to not having more money. The more you don't need, then you don't need to have so much money when you retire because you get used to not spending it. Is this a very stingy, Japanese say catchy way of thinking? Maybe, but maybe not. Mr. Money Mustache, his real name is Pete Adene. He would argue that actually you get used to not needing the newest products and living a more healthy lifestyle, and you don't really suffer. So his point is then, yes, the more money you save, the more you get used to not spending so much to be happy. Number three, the less you need to live, the less you need to save to retire. If you get used to not spending lots of money, you don't need so much. Don't need to save up such an enormous amount of money to retire. Really? Well, how do you save up some money? Well, number four, put all the money you would have spent on unnecessary things into an index fund and watch your investments grow until they earn more than you can in your job. Then you retire. Okay. difficult word here, index fund. An index fund is investment. You're putting money into stock market, you can put it into the global stock market. And an index fund is a very cheap, it's called passive investing. You can look it up really, but what you're doing is you're putting a little bit of money every month into an account that buys little bits of every company on the stock market or on many stock markets throughout the world. You can do this in Japan. There are many companies that you can do. You can do it online, but it's called index investing because it takes an index of the whole market. So you don't need to be an expert in savings and investments. You get the cheapest, widest thing to invest in, a widest fund to invest in. And it's a bit complicated, but it's not really. It sounds complicated, but it's a very simple idea. You're just drip feeding little by little, like a coffee, dripping in all your extra money. And then eventually the money comes back. You make more money from the stock market. What? There's more details to this, but okay, the fifth one, the final project, the final point is if you need some savings tips, well, here are some tips that Mr. Money Mustache would give. Never buy on credit. Don't use credit cards because you just get into debt. Move to a cheaper area. Live in a cheaper house. Don't buy a car. They just eat up your money. Ride a bicycle to work. Avoid convenience, which is expensive. In other words, like if you buy food from a convenience store, it's always more expensive. Make your own food, make your own bento, or in America, that's called brown bagging. Take a little brown paper bag with your lunch in. Doing things yourself is healthier, and expensive consumer items will not make you happy anyway. You don't need to have the latest smartphone. You can get cheaper ways to do that, cheaper ways to get on the internet. And all of that extra money you invest. That's what he would recommend. I've raced through his ideas here, but if you ever get interested, I think I've put a link in there, mrmoneymustache.com. Let me see if I'll share it. I just called it up. Let me see, where is it? Here it is. And we'll open this one. Hold on. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, so can you see this? This is the Mr. Money Mustache screen. And it's all in English, of course, so it's good practice for you. But if you go down, I mean, he may change it by the time you see this, but if you go down to the bottom, he's got popular posts. And here is this was the key one here. The shockingly simple math. Hold on, click on that. The shockingly simple math behind early retirement. And there's a key here. Basically, how long does it take you to get enough money to be safe to retire? And here, this is the key savings rate, right? If you save more of your income, right? If you can manage to save, this is crazy, but if you manage to save 64% of your income, in other words, every time you get your paycheck or money and you save 64% and invest it, you can retire in 10.9 years. The more savings rate you have, the quicker you can retire. Now that may be a little extreme, but if you have 40%, if you save 40% of your salary, you can retire in 20 years. So the idea that you have to wait until you're 65 to retire, he would argue, is not necessary. There's a little bit more mathematics involved in it, but if you have a look at this post, it was from 2012, and it's an eye-opener, I think. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Let me stop this one. So the point is, with FIRE, financial independence, retire early, it's a movement against consumerism, always having to buy new things, getting comfortable buying old things, reusing things, recycling things, and and retiring early, investing that in the stock market and building it up much faster than waiting until you're 60 or 65. If you're already retired, you already know these secrets, I would imagine. Okay, let me see. There's a couple of questions. Which is more important, saving more or earning more? Making more money or saving more? That's an interesting question. I mean, actually, this guy, one of the reasons he was able to do this was he had a very good salary from a young age before he had children. And then when he had his first child, then he retired. But he had a good job. But I think he would argue savings is the most important factor. Okay, number two, is money the most important consideration in retirement? Is it most important to worry about money, to get your money right? Or is there something more important in your life when you retire? Number three, is it good for society for people to retire early? There is an argument that maybe you're being lazy by retiring uh, and doing your own thing. Uh, Maybe. I had another argument though that if you love your job and you never want to retire, great, go do that job. And if you really don't want to be that person, retire and invest in people who do love their jobs. So you're actually helping people. It's better for the economy. These arguments go round and round, but it's an interesting idea. Is it okay for people to retire at 30 or 40 or 50 and live out their retirement dreams, not consuming new things? I don't know. Something to consider. Anyway, right. Well, good luck with your lesson. Thank you. See you again.